Hi, this is supplementary Algebra 1 lesson covering lesson 116, the equation of a line with a given slope. And if you read through, it's a real short read through on that section. They'll say this was going to be the easiest lesson involving this whole concept of determining the equation of the line of a sloped line that we've gone through, okay? And again, just to reiterate, and when we're wanting the equation of a line, it needs to be in this general format, okay? It needs to be y equals a number that indicates the slope times x plus this constant or b that indicates the y-intercept. Now, some of you will come up with a thing and you'll box in the answer on the right hand side. The actual total answer is this y equals. It's the whole expression, okay? Excuse me. And let's practice on indicating this slope properly, okay? If it is a fraction, a positive fraction, 1/2, you would indicate it as 1/2 x. If it's a minus, it would be minus 1/2 x. Let's not put the minus down in the denominator or up in the numerator. Let's put it out in front of the slope, okay? If it is an integer, 2x, okay, let's express it as an integer, not as 2/1x, okay? And the same thing with b. If it, excuse me, is a number, let's express that as a number. If it is a number -7, okay, let's not express it in this equation as plus a -7. Let's express it as a -7, okay? So let's use these two slopes. So we would have an equation y equals 2x minus 7, okay? Not 2/1, okay? Not a plus a -7. You combine those signs. So there's just a little cleanup work to do on the expressions. And the answer is this whole expression is the equation of the line, just not the stuff on the right hand side. And don't forget to put this x in here, okay? That's a critical part. You don't put that x in there, we don't have the equation of the line. We just have a number and a number, okay? We have y equals, okay? Now that will indicate a line, but as we know, y equals a number will be a horizontal line, okay, not a sloped line, okay? So just a couple little points for cleanup as far as answering your questions in proper format. Now, I'm going to be working off examples 116.2 and 116.3 in your textbook, page 425. We're going to go to 116.3 first. They want the equation of the line that passes through this point and it has this slope. Now they don't have m equals -1/2. They just says the slope of the line is -1/2. I recognize the slope as the m term there, okay? So I start with my general equation of the line again. Instead of m, since they gave us the slope, I'm going to go ahead and put in the slope, and I must put in that x term as well, plus b. All of these problems, we always start with determining the slope and putting the slope into the equation first, and there's no difference here, okay? They gave us the slope. We didn't have to go to a graph. They didn't say the slope is the same as the parallel line. So we didn't have to rearrange the parallel line in y form and determine what is that m, okay? They give it to us simple. That's why they're saying this is the simplest lesson, okay? Then from that point, what do? We take this known point they gave us, okay, where this is an x coordinate, this is a y coordinate in an ordered pair, and we plug that in. We plug this in for x, we plug this in for y, okay? Y will be 40, 1 minus 1/2, we plug the x in, minus 50 plus b, okay? So we get 40 on this side, a minus 1/2 times a minus 50 will be a positive. it'll be a positive 25 plus b. Okay, we subtract the 25 from that side, and we get 15 over here. Okay, now some of you will go down and do this, and you'll circle this is not the answer to the equation of the line. This is only the b part. It's only one component. Okay, what do we do from that point? We take that 15 and we plug it in for b there. Okay, this whole point of plugging in an x and a y was to determine what that b is. Okay, so then we take that equation of the line that we had, the slope still stays there, we still keep that x in the equation, and we just simply add the b, the y-intercept, to it, is 15 in this case. Then that becomes the equation of our line. Okay, so we don't have the complete equation here, we're missing b. We use this point, and some of you get lost. I think, why are we plugging in an x and a y? The whole thing is to come up with this b term to plug in here, because we're missing a term. It's typical in an equation of a line. We only have y and x as variables showing. Okay, everything else is numbers. So here we have a y, an x, and a b. Okay, to find out what the b is, we put in a y and an x. That only gives us b as the only unknown, and we can solve for b. Then we go ahead and plug it in, and then yeah, this is more typical. We have a y, we have an x in our slope for a line. Everything else is numbers. Okay, so that's particularly useful in here. We don't really want to go to a graph, because look at these coordinates. We would need a huge piece of graph paper to do that. Okay, and so we would need a huge piece of graph paper to graph this, and then take the slope all the way back to the y-axis and see where it crosses. Okay, it crosses at 15. Our point here was going to be minus 50 and 40 units away. We would need a huge piece of graph paper to do that graphically. Okay, we don't need that in this case with this method. If we know the slope and we know a point, we can determine that. Okay, now I'm going to go to example 116.2, and this is a more typical one where you guys have been having problems. Find the equation of a line that goes through minus 5, 11, excuse me, lost my chalk, and has a slope of 1/7. Okay, let me grab a new piece of chalk. Okay, so we start with our equation of the line. They already give us the slope, 1/7. We'll plug that in for m, x. Okay, plus b. The only thing we have to do now is plug values in for x and y. This goes in for x, this goes in for y. Y will equal 11, equals 1/7. I'm going to put in parentheses times a minus 5 plus b. Again, this whole drill, we are solving for b. We get 11 on this side, we get a minus 5/7 on that side, plus b. Well, how do we solve for b? We must get b alone. We add 5/7 and we add 5/7 to this side, so we get 11 plus 5/7 equals b. So what do we have here? We have an addition of fractions. Okay, we must get them together in common denominators. Okay, how do we express that? We change 11 to 77/7. That's the same as 11. Okay, then I can add them. And what do? I add them. B becomes 82/7. Okay, can I reduce that? I'm going to look at the book real quick. No, I can't reduce that. Okay, and so yeah, this is a strange looking b value. What do I do with that? I plug it back in up here. Y will equal my slope times x plus what I solved for b. Yeah, it looks weird. Okay, but that's what it becomes, and that's what happens often when I have fractions involved in my slope, and then I plug in points that are integers. I get a fraction for the y-intercept. Now it's typical we leave that as an improper fraction. We don't change that into a mixed fraction with an integer and a fraction remainder to it. We leave it as an improper fraction. That is the expression of the equation of the line. So a number of you have been going down here, and you seem to stall out when it comes to adding these fractions together. We got to get this fraction over to the other side, and then add that or subtract that 11 to it. Okay, we have that 11 and we added 5/7 to it. So in order to add that 11, we change it to sevenths. Okay, common denominators. It comes up to 82/7. And maybe because this number looks so weird, you're like, that doesn't seem right. Yeah, it's right. If that's what it comes out to be when you add your fractions, okay, and then plug it in. Even if it doesn't, okay, come up with a number and plug it in there, because that's a large part. I want to see this format. Y equals the slope times x plus a number. Okay, if this number comes out to be 0, okay, if this comes out to be 0, if it came out to be 0, we don't typically write y equals 1/7 x plus 0. We would just leave it like that. And there might be a case where it comes out to be 0. Okay, so I hope that helps and clears up a couple of mistakes that have been happening with this. Shoot an email or a text message with any questions. Bye for now.